Hello, and thank you for joining today's steering group meeting recorded earlier today, the 10th of November 2022. As always, if you'd like to participate in future steering group meetings, please do get in touch via the contact details that'll be in the description down below. Until then, hope you enjoyed this meeting, and thank you for your time today. All the best. Bye now.
Okay, so moving on to the actions from the last meeting. Just bear with me a moment when I locate them. So some of them relate to the film project, and I think I'm correct in saying, Robin and Scott and Jill, that as yet we haven't done a formal release of the films, have we?
No, we're getting there.
So the actions around sharing with other partners so that they can show them to other young people, sharing them with Parent Carer Foundation and PCT. I think again that's kind of on the back burner at the moment, because what we want to be able to do is enable our young people to have that experience of the kind of the premiere of them, as it were, before they're released, and certainly what we would like is for Scott and Robin and other young people within the group to kind of take that forward in terms of sharing with other partners. So, but I'm sure you guys will come on to that, so I won't steal your thunder in terms of what you're going to talk about in a little while. Kim Ward asked for some further details in terms of health data. And Kirsty, my predecessor, was going to have a discussion with her on what was required. Just in terms of that, we've got a service level agreement review coming up with the local authority and with the NHS Dorset, as they're now known, to really consider what both health and the local authority want to see in terms of data feedback. So I think that again can be put on hold for a period of time. Our steering group meeting was, our SLA meeting was meant to happen last week. It didn't, unfortunately. We have another date for the end of November, so I hope to be able to drill down those kind of data reporting as part of that service level agreement review. What else did we have? There was something around Jill working with PCT and PCF in collaborating with job centres to make parents more aware of services and young people more aware of services. I'm not sure whether that was taken forward or not. And then there was some work with Lloyd from the college around Lex to make contact with the college, I think around parent champions, and that work being made aware of within the college.
With regard to the college, I'm still working with them, and I don't think they're quite there yet at the moment, but that's something that we're still going forward with. I met with them in September, and so it's there, but
work in progress.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Okay. I haven't got the minutes from the last meeting to hand, but what we can do is send those out again at the end of this meeting with these meetings too, so that people can just make sure they agree with them. And if you could let us know by email that you agree with them, and then we'll take those forward. Okay, so John, would you mind just sharing the screen again regarding the agenda, please? Okay, so we're a little bit ahead of schedule. If we move on to Robin and Scott and Jill giving some feedback regarding the project that is ongoing or has been ongoing, and plans for taking it forward into this academic year as well. So over to Robin, Scott and Jill.
Sorry, I'm on mute. Sorry, guys. I've just done a little presentation, just a general of the children and young people's work, and then Robin's got her own presentation, and Scott might like to say a few words as well. So if you just bear with me while I try and share, because I'm really not a techie person. Are we all okay? Can we see that? Yeah. Can everybody? Yeah. Okay. So This is just for the last 6 months from April to August, really. Just a quick update. So it was just myself, and now Kate Williams, who's worked for SENDiass for 5 years, has now come on board and is supporting me with the work that we do. I've just done a quick outline of what the Children and Young Person's work is, really, because I'm not sure who's been on who knows or who's been to one of these meetings. So really developing the children and young people's understanding of SENDiass, the support we offer and how we can help them in their own right. Developing the participation of children and young people in sharing their views and wishes so they can influence how the SENDiass develops, and ensuring we deliver a service that is appropriate to the needs of children, young people as well as their parent carers. And enabling the views of children and young people who use our service to feed into the wider strategic developments across education, health and social care. Our work involves supporting children and young people in gathering their views for their education and healthcare assessments and annual reviews, providing information and advice, supporting young people 16 plus to apply for an education and healthcare needs assessment in their own right. We've got a participation group that started. We've been doing an animation project. I'm part of the Southwest Information Advice Support Service Children and Young People's group, so we meet 4 times a year, and we also have some working parties developing different things for young people, but on a wider area, and build relationships with other professionals, including schools, post-16 providers, colleges, the job centre, CAMS, so really to ensure that professionals are aware of our service and how they, we could maybe support their children and young people. So since April, we've been continuing our drop-ins at Bournemouth and Poole College, normally once a month at Bournemouth and then once a month at Poole, and then myself and Kate went to the open event. I've got some figures. I think we saw overall we've met about 41 students, 7 parents and 14 tutors. I've also started, I've worked with SWARAC for quite a few years, and we've started regular drop-ins monthly there, just to support young people to express their views for their annual reviews, or maybe applying for an educational healthcare assessment. The young people previously, when I'd visited, I'd asked about doing a questionnaire, so 26 of them completed it. Only 3 knew about SENDiass, which means that we've got quite a lot of work to still do, and over half were happy to provide feedback on our views, because and help us develop our website and to work with us on other projects. So that's really good. I've also visited the Chatterbox Youth Club, where we again gathered the young people's views on our website. They've got 2 clubs, so they range from sort of 12 to 25. So it's trying to get a broad view of what our service is and where we can help different young people at different stages. Kate and myself also attended the Winchelsea Summer School event. We ran a badge making event or activity, and also did some questions just to sort of again find out who knew about our service. Also in the last 6 months, I've met with BBU CAM, which is a project that supports young people and parents looking for employment, and we were just seeing how we could sort of work together. I've also supported a young person to attend SEND youth provision. They were quite isolated, but just wasn't able to connect. So we do perhaps, that was part of it whilst we were gathering their views. We also managed to get them to engage in another activity. We've also contacted all the schools in the area, advised them of our service, obviously with Kate coming on board as well, and offered to attend open evenings or events, and started to develop the SENDiass4BCP participation group. We've also continued with our animation project and had several post-production meetings, and the films are nearly complete, and they've been working on promotional material. This is what the promotional material will look like. So this is postcards and posters that will be coming out soon. On the reverse of this is the titles of the films with QR codes. So hopefully you will be all seeing that shortly. And going forward, hopefully we want to continue building on the work we're doing. More visits to parent carer groups, community events to raise awareness, complete and release our films, hopefully before Christmas, start the next film, and continue to develop the participation group and recruit more children and young people, and go to visit some SEND local provisions. So that's my little slot, and I'm going to try and put Robin's up now. Here we go. Is that okay, everybody? Yeah? So Robin, are you?
Yeah.
Okay, I shall just tell me when you want me to move it on. So
Yeah, you can do. Okay, so good morning, everyone. We have been currently starting a project for a couple of months, basically making different films, and this week, unfortunately, we cannot release films due to we haven't got the QR codes as of yet, which I think Jonathan is working on. However, this month was good, but we had a few disasters, including Becky refilming some of the scenes due to corruption.
this was back in May, wasn't it? We had to refilm. Yeah.
Yeah, next one. We have signed off a few films and are awaiting final titles and edits from Branded as well as Becky. We are also coming up with QR codes and waiting to publish the films via postcards or with links on them as well. What we plan to do next is a recruitment drive to get younger people involved in the project. We also plan to attend Parents with Parent Carer Champions Forum in October. We also attend the Welcome Fest, which we organise by Paul and Lansdowne College. We also hope to film a fourth film, which will be about transition with SEND. So yeah, thank you very much. This year has been so much fun with SENDiass, and I never want to leave. I hope to do more with them as it's built up my confidence and my self-esteem. I've loved every minute and I can't wait for more. So thank you, SENDiass.
And Robin, do you want to share with everybody what you're also doing now? Because not only is she working with us on a BCP level, but what else are you doing? You've just been accepted.
I've also been selected to work with IAS with Tom
CDC,
as well as with the Baines group. So yeah.
And that's us, I think. I'm going to try and stop sharing now, guys. Hopefully it works.
And I know Robin has just said thank you to us as a SENDiass service, but I think the thanks needs to go to you and Scott and your peers who you have worked with on this project for your commitment and your passion and your perseverance in getting these films done, because there have been disasters along the way, haven't there? You know, that nobody was anticipating, and you know, you've stuck with it and you've done some really great work with people in Baines as well.
Can I just interrupt there? I apologise if I sounded a bit groggy, as I've got a bit of a cold. So
know the feeling, Robin. No, that was brilliant. Thank you, Robin. And Scott, is there anything you'd like to say or put in the chat?
Scott, is there anything you want to say, just or one word that you might like to say about how you've felt the project's worked for you? You want to just pop it in the chat? If not, you know, when we sometimes just put things in the chat box. If you want to later, just put something in the chat box, Scott. All right? Or just
all I can say is that the film project is very, very interesting, and I can't wait to do this extra film.
Absolutely. Thank you, Scott. That's fab. You know, as I say, you Robin and the other young people have worked brilliantly and been so committed to this, and I wholeheartedly thank you both and your peers that you've been working with. So thank you. Has anybody got any questions that they might want to ask Robin and Scott? Okay, I mean, we're really excited for the next film as well, and can't wait to see what you guys come up with. So.
Victoria, Rebecca's got her hand up.
Oh, sorry, Bex.
It's just that when you were talking, your mic went a bit funny, so I didn't get to hear what you've been invited to. So I was really excited to know what you've been invited to, but I didn't hear, so I apologise.
I was invited to be part of the IAS team with Tom Quilter, as well as some others from London, Manchester and Birmingham. So, yeah.
It's
Fantastic.
like a national forum. It's a national forum, and you're looking at steering groups and how SENDiass services can get young people involved in their steering groups.
We've also been looking at stuff like sustainability, as well as stuff like the green paper and how we can help with alternate provisions and stuff like that.
Brilliant.
So, yeah.
Great.
Thank you, Robin. That sounds really exciting.
So it came up, and obviously I know Robin's really keen, and Robin's also actually, but that's this year, but you have also attended a meeting and sort of shared lots of things about what we've been doing as well, haven't you? So
it's fab. Jo, you've got a question.
Yeah, I just wondered, it sounds amazing, and I hope we're looking forward to seeing the films and sharing them with our young people. If you needed any young people on board, or how would we be able to get in touch with you, or if you need anyone, would you be able to get in touch with me? How would that work?
Jo, just let me know if you've got young people. Yeah, that's fine.
And if there's anything particular that you would need, you'll just let us know, because it's, we don't know exactly what that film looks like and what you'd need, but we'd love to be involved if there's anything that you need from us.
Yeah, so I mean, really, with the films before, they started from scratch. So Robin can explain, didn't you? You started as a group. You explain, Robin.
Yeah, as I say, we started as a young people's group, and now we're hopefully wanting to branch out to younger people, obviously in schools and transitioning up to college age. So yeah,
with the project, they literally interviewed the companies that were producing it and the young people decided on what the themes they wanted. It is an animation project with no animation because they all wanted to be in the film. So it's the only animation films with no animation, really. But so we've had to change the title slightly. Go on, Robin. Yeah.
We're also hoping to branch out to AIM Community in Kingston as well, to see if any of them would like to volunteer with us as well.
That's where
Jo's from. This is where I'm from, so that's what I'm saying, and that's why I don't know what you need, but if I know what you need, I can gather people or resources and get it to you, Robin, because we'd love to be involved.
Yeah, and Jo, just for your knowledge, our logo, which was designed last year, that was actually Richard that did that. So we worked with you. Yeah. Just so historically you might not have been realised, but just so that you know. Yeah,
it's great, but just let us know what you need, and then we can, the types of things we can get.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. I should be quiet now.
Sorry, Alex, did you have a question?
Yes, and apologies if this has been answered somewhere else, but very similar to Jo, really. You talked about trying to get some younger people involved, and I was just thinking, with the secondary schools that we have in the area, is it worth advertising in their newsletters and on their websites? And maybe going, I know you talked about, Robin, going to some of the open evenings in Bournemouth and Poole College, but what about some of the schools that have sixth form, or even some of the schools with the year 11s in, as they transition to wherever they're going to go next? Is it worth getting in earlier there, maybe? Because I know a lot of heads would really support this.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. What I'm hoping to do with the SENDiass group is basically I'm hoping to branch out to any school that would be open to working with us and volunteering with us. And that's what we're trying to aim for as a target, to get young people from schools involved.
And it's not just about the animation project. We've got a very small. The three of them have also been doing part of a. Oh, I can't even think now. Sorry, I thought I was off, and now I'm not. So just a small group participation group, and that's looking at our web. That could be looking at maybe a children's leaflet. So what other services we offer. Robin's quite interested in health and what we could do, perhaps.
Yeah.
Go in that avenue. You're also interested in the sort of perhaps exploring what we could do with regard to transport. So there's lots of avenues that beside the animation project. So that the animation is with another SENDiass service, which is Bath and North East. So we've been working jointly, so everything's been online, where we've also got a participation group, which is just BCP. So there's lots of different options to get involved if young people want to. Sorry. Anything else, Robin, you can think of? Or Scott?
Really.
Pitching, guys.
Apart from we would love to branch out to other businesses as well as stuff like Moorbus and obviously places of employment like the job centres and stuff, to see how they can get involved with us, to see if they can branch out to any other international or worldwide companies to get involved.
There's no stopping her.
SENDiass4BCP, he's going global.
Yeah,
that's what's happening.
Yeah, she's gone to this other group, only one meeting, and that's it. Yeah. We're off.
Thank you, Robin. That's fab. Okay, any final questions before we move on to the next? Okay, so now I have to follow this with my annual report. So all that excitement, and now over to the annual report, which actually there's lots to celebrate, in fact. And so what I propose to do, as I said, it's quite a lengthy document, but what I'll do is if I bring it up on, I'll try and share my screen so you can see it, and then I'll go through the headlines, and obviously there'll be an opportunity for some questions at the end. John, just a techie question. If I share my screen with the annual report, can I then look at a separate document myself to be able to read follow the headlines? Is that possible? Can I do both?
Yeah. So if it's a PowerPoint, isn't it, your annual?
Well, no, I'm just going to share. I'm going to share the report, and then I've got notes that I'm going to talk through as part of the headlines for the annual report. Yeah.
Okay. So in that case, then click on the sharing button, not the leave button. And then where it says screen, you've got the picture of us at the moment, and you've got the one to the right of it. And then below that, you've got window, and select window, and it's the one that has your report on it that you want to share. And that will only share that window. Okay, but I can still open the other one that I need to refer to. Fabulous. Fabulous. There we go. Right. Can everybody see that? We can see the Word document annual report. Yeah, fabulous. Thank you. So the annual report covers the time frame of the 1st of September 2021 to the 31st of August 2022. And as I was going off on my career break, Ofsted actually came in and inspected in my last 3 days that I was at work. So I didn't actually have sight of the report until I came back to work in May this year. And I was really pleased to see that our service had been noted by Ofsted and CCG to be an effective service, that we're well led and have a strong understanding of who we advocate for. So I really wanted to put that on the front of this annual report, really, just to show how how well we'd been recognised by Ofsted. Just to say, the staffing structure changed from March of the March reports and last year's report. So Kirsty Fisher was in the interim SENDiass officer role until May 2022, when I returned from my career break, and Kirsty at that point had decided to leave the service and has gone on to pastures new in Southampton. So we obviously wished her all the very best, but we're very sad to lose her.
Rebecca Becks has stepped into the senior SENDiass officer role, and she was actually in an interim role whilst I was off, and she was successful in getting the SENDiass senior role from July onwards, and is a permanent member of staff in the SENDiass role. Claire, Sharon, Sally and Sarah are all SENDiass officers, with a mixture of part-time and full-time hours, some of which is still funded through our grant funding. So we have a little kind of fixed term contracts going on alongside the permanent hours as well. Jill, you've already met, is our part-time children and young persons officer, and Kate, as Jill said, has stepped over to supporting children and young people as a SENDiass officer. Tracy and John are our SENDiass officers. Again, John is full-time, but 50% of his hours are on a fixed-term contract through our grant funding. And Lex is our parent carer champion coordinator. Again, her contract is a fixed-term contract. Okay, so in terms of the kind of headlines, as it were. Oh, I can't open that and look at that, can I? Sorry. So headline-wise, we continue to be joint commissioned by the local authority and the NHS Dorset, the Integrated Care Board, in line with the Children and Families Act, and we have an agreed service level agreement, which I mentioned earlier as being reviewed. It's reviewed annually. However, what we wanted to do is review it early in this autumn term to consider the funding that comes through from NHS Dorset. So as I said, that meeting is now going to take place at the end of November. It's quite timely, really, because obviously I've just done the annual report for last year, so I can give some up-to-date information around where we're at, really, in terms of the way we're using the funding and the outcomes that funding is supporting. So we're jointly funded by the local authority, who have the lion's share of funding that goes into SENDiass, and we then have a small amount of funding from health as well. We've contributed in the last year to a range of different groups that are going, working groups and forums. We're part of the Send Health Forum, the Quality Assurance Working Group. We take part in moderation of EHCPs alongside partners and feed that into the QA team within the local authority. We've developed and co-produced the annual SEND survey with a range of partners, including the SEND service, and we're contributing to the development of the Ofsted written statement of action. We've developed and co-produced the EHC needs assessment request form for educational settings, and also some personal budget information for parent carers and professionals. We've been involved in co-producing the SEND banding funding descriptors and arrangements, which I believe were going to Cabinet a week or so ago for finalising. So those should, I guess, be released at some point if they haven't been already. We've also been involved in developing and designing parent carer workshops and webinars, and in the last year worked with PCT to launch the Parent Champion coordinator role, and the project is becoming increasingly embedded in BCP schools. I'm not going to talk about that any further because Lex is going to give an overview shortly of where things have got to in terms of the work she's been doing. And as Jill and Scott and Robin have been talking about, we created the joint youth participation group and have co-produced 3 short films with that group. And as it says, they're due for release by end of March, beginning of April 22. However, that's been moved forward so that the young people can make sure that they're as ready as they possibly can be to be released. Okay, so in terms of those projects, for those who haven't previously been to a steering group, we received funding from the Information Advice and Support Programme, I think over a period of 4 years. That funding had to be bid for, and we had various different projects going on over those 4 years, and some of it was around building capacity and sustainability within SENDiass services to ensure we could continue to meet need locally. The contract that we had for 2021-2022 ended on the 31st of March, and what I'll do is I'll append the report that Kirsty prepared to this report when it's circulated again at the end of this meeting. We were successful in achieving the outcomes within the task order and received full grant funding for that. We had an underspend in the Young People's Film Project, so we have a joint fund that is held by BCP, but it's for BAMES as well, Bath and North East Somerset, and we have an underspend, so we will be able to create a fourth film, as Robin was saying. So that's really exciting that we're going to be able to have 4 short films that the collaborative group have prepared and been participating in and starred in and everything. So really exciting that we'll be able to take that forward. As I said, I'm not going to steal Lex's thunder in terms of the Parent Champion project, other than to say it's going from strength to strength. Schools are engaged in the project, currently have a number of volunteers delivering monthly drop-ins, etc. And I'll let Lex talk about that in a bit more detail shortly. Just to touch on the Service Development Plan 2022-23, these are the areas that we're going to work on. What we've decided to do is really focus on the kind of have some real key focus areas in terms of where we target our support and look at linking into those areas. And it's been quite fortuitous that Amanda has become line manager for myself in recent times, because what we're hoping to do is really look at how we can work with the hubs that are developing, the family hubs that are developing. I'm going to be doing some work with Gay Wright regarding that and looking at how we can support the delivery of services to families of children, young people with SEND through the family hubs. So really exciting. It kind of fits in nicely and neatly with what we were proposing to do. So these are the areas that we're going to be taking forward. There's a lot of work underway regarding our current website format, and that's going to change and is being co-produced with parent carers, children and young people. The young persons participation group are, as Jill said, looking at the resources and information that we provide to children and young people and making sure that it's accessible and useful to them, and that they are part of that co-production, so it has meaning as well. We already have a rolling programme of workshops that need to develop, and now that COVID is a little bit more in the background, maybe that we can get back to doing some face-to-face delivery of that as well as online. I've already mentioned the further film that will be co-produced. We're looking at how we can increase the number of parent carer champions and the number of schools that are expressing interest in having a parent champion within their school. We're looking at bite-sized information resources and webinars, and really developing our website offer so that there's a greater opportunity for self-serve as well. So again, that ties in neatly with the website developments. We're looking at consistent branding of SENDiass across the piece and making sure that when people pick up a leaflet or look at a piece of information, it's very clearly come from SENDiass4BCP. And there's some work in the Southwest ongoing around that as well, looking at how we can share resources rather than reinventing the wheel, because all SENDiass services have a kind of core menu of information that they need to be providing through web, through face-to-face. So making sure that we're collaborating as far as we can across the Southwest as well. In terms of developing our role and reach and remit, looking at how we can enhance the understanding of our role and what we do with senior partners across health and social care, and looking at how we can increase awareness through links in those focus areas, as I said, hopefully linking in with the family hubs. And oh, sorry, does somebody have a question? Okay.
Sorry, yeah, Robin's got it up.
Oh, okay. I can't see you, Robin, sorry. Did you want to ask a question, Robin?
No, it's not a question, but as you were saying about delivering talks, we are planning on doing that with the SENDiass participation group as well.
Fab.
So we're hoping to deliver talks out anywhere we can get to. Brilliant.
That's so we can look at how you guys can kind of tie in with perhaps some SENDiass officers or the parent champions, and we can look at how we make sure we join things up a bit as well, which would be really good, wouldn't it? Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so also looking at the profile of SENDiass and looking at how we can ensure that that information is out there about us, and really giving some examples of the work that we're undertaking and the positive outcomes that our support is enabling children and young people to achieve as well. So there'll be some work around that as well. So the service development tracker will be appended to this report, which gives kind of further details on the progress as we're going forward. We're continuing to work from home. We don't have any office space assigned to us because it was really tricky for BCP Council to find some office space that met with our arm's length requirements. So we have been able to secure some space on an ad hoc basis with colleagues from Active Dorset, but that, again, we're grateful for that, but it's still a bit of a work in progress, really, in terms of being able to achieve some working space where we can be alongside each other and receive some peer support and kind of have those opportunities that we used to have when we were office based. We would seek to secure some permanent office space going forward, as I said, to ensure that peer-to-peer support and ensure that we're collaborating as much as we possibly can as a service. So that's kind of a work in progress as well. Continue to offer flexible support in line with the government, with the COVID-19 restrictions, but as they've eased, we've been able to go back to some, greater face-to-face support. Having said that, parent carers have come back to us to say actually for them online is fine. We're looking at clinic-based kind of opportunities in local areas for those who need that face-to-face support, but many parent carers reported to us that actually meeting online virtually was working for them. So we intend to remain offering that as part of our kind of overall menu of how we might meet with people.
Victoria, can
yeah,
I just say Alex has got her hand up. Thank you.
Yes, Alex.
Hi, sorry, I was just going to check, how much office space are you looking for? Roughly?
We ideally, what we were looking at was having four desks that we could kind of hot desk a bit, so people could come in and work together with each other and have those opportunities for being alongside each other. We weren't looking for a whole office space in terms of the whole service being in at once, but yes, sort of four desks that we could kind of have a hot desking arrangement.
Okay, and I think I mean some of our schools could certainly help with the clinic-based drop-in space as well, but I will check about that office space as well, because some schools have got gaps at the moment.
Okay, lovely. Thank you, Alex. Perhaps we could pick up on that outside of the meeting and have a chat about it. That would be really, really positive. Thank you. So I'll come on to the data around our inquiries, but we've seen an overall 31% increase in inquiries to the service. And the team have continued to implement some really creative ways to meet local need and to reach that wider audience and make sure that as many parent carers and young people have access to us as a service as possible. And I think, when COVID hit, that was really difficult for us as a service. However, the team have been really committed and really resourceful in terms of how they've taken things forward for parent carers. And we've, continued to meet need locally and actually increased the number of number of parent carers, children, young people that have been able to access us, which is really positive. So from January 2020, began keeping a response log. So the response log keeps a note of inquiries that don't need to go forward to allocation with a senior or with an officer, rather not senior officer, with a SENDiass officer. And the purpose of keeping that log was really to demonstrate the number of inquiries, so those kind of initial inquiries that parent carers just need a little bit of information and advice, a bit of signposting in order to kind of take things forward themselves. So we developed our team email address and the advice line. That was kind of our step forward, to have an advice line with dedicated advisors, which are Tracy and Jonathan, to provide that kind of initial information and advice, but also take referrals and triage them for those that need to go forward for allocation for more intensive support. What we found since the advent of the the advisor line, is that Tracy and John have been exceedingly busy. What we've seen compared to the previous academic year, 2020-2021, we've seen a 75% increase in the number of inquiries that John and Tracy are dealing with. So this academic year, we've had 1,127 inquiries into the advice line that they've responded to, that they've given that level 1 information, advice and support, they've provided signposting, and as a result, those inquiries haven't had to go forward for more intensive support. So what we've been able to do is reach far more people in terms of giving that initial information advice, which means they can then take that forward themselves, which is great to see. However, what it does mean is that capacity for John and Tracy has been increasingly stretched in terms of the time frame for responding. And actually before half term, we have an internal KPI of 5 working days to respond. That had gone up to 8 before half term, and so I took the decision to close the advice line over half term to give John and Tracy an opportunity to kind of catch up on the backlog that had built up, really, because of the volume of cases, inquiries that were coming through. So there's the year-on-year comparison. So the orange line is those kind of inquiries that haven't then had to go on and be allocated for more intensive support. So as you can see, quite a dramatic increase. So those are the key areas for referral that come in. So we break our referrals down into general information, advice and support through EHCP processes, and exclusion, and appeals and tribunal. So those have been the increases and decreases, I suppose, over the last year. We've seen quite an increase in exclusion this academic year, and certainly in the last part of this autumn term, or the first part of this autumn term. Do excuse me, my brain is a bit on the slow side. So in terms of exclusion, we're again this academic year we've already seen an increase as well. So in terms of increased support around tribunal and appeal, that in 2019-2020, it was felt to be reflective of the climate locally, with the pressure on specialist placements. But what we need to recognise is the work that the team do with families and with the early disagreement resolution team within the local authority, that even though we assign an inquiry to appeals and tribunals, a high number of those are resolved prior to getting to final hearing, and that's been at the behest of the early disagreement resolution team and the relationship that we've been able to develop with them and support parents' engagement with that team to avoid tribunal. And there's been some really positive outcomes for children and young people through that route. It does mean, however, that despite there being quite a large increase in the Southwest data around mediation, formal mediation, actually our engagement in formal mediation prior to tribunal has dropped significantly, and I think that's because of the relationship with the early disagreement resolution team. Having said that, appeals and tribunals are still going up, and we are still seeing hearings going forward because a resolution hasn't been reached. Just moving on, in terms of age, we've seen a drop in the 0 to 4-year-old and the 5 to 10-year-old. However, our 11 to 15-year-old involvement and 19 to 25 has gone up quite dramatically, and I think that's as a result of the work that Jill and Kate have been doing in terms of engaging those young people. 16 to 18-year-olds has remained fairly static, which is quite interesting. However, that group of 19 to 25-year-olds engaging with us as a service has increased dramatically, which is really positive to see. So whilst some of our allocation types, our case types have reduced, the number of contact hours in the last year has increased dramatically, as you can see, by 51%. And I thought I'd give a little bit of a breakdown in the areas where we're seeing increased number of hours in terms of the support that's required. And I think that's the bit that we need to kind of emphasise. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to let you know that I'll be leaving now.
Okay, Scott, thanks for joining us.
That's well done, Scott. That's fine. All right.
All right.
We'll speak soon. All right.
Thanks, Scott. Bye.
You take care. Bye.
Thanks, Scott.
Bye.
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 So in terms of so that I think what's happened and what the data is showing us is that the intensity, the complexity and the amount of hours that we are now supporting families has increased dramatically, and those headlines there in terms of contact type demonstrate where there have been some really significant increases in terms of the amount of time it's taking to support families through those particular issues. And there again, you can see where the increases are really. Refusal to issue has become a real hot potato within the service, whereas our refusal to assess input has declined, but that's not balanced out. So there is a significant increase in the amount of time SENDiass officers are taking to support families through particular issues, as I said. Our health data has dropped slightly or significantly, depends how you look at it, by 36%, and I think some of that is around the fact that our support through EHCP processes have dropped, and we always would count those as part of our delivery of health information and advice, but I think the issues remain around access to health services such as CAM paediatrics and navigating referral routes, and certainly a number of families, or significant number of families, report falling through the gap between CAMs and paediatrics, and certainly the waiting times are a hot potato as well in terms of parent carers reporting to us the difficulties that they might be experiencing in accessing services. And I think, yeah, and as I said there, I think COVID was a significant factor in contacts in 2021 as well, with us providing advice around that as well. Okay, social care matters advice has increased again, and we are although there's been a slight drop, we're still seeing a high number of parent carers, kinship carers coming to us asking for support around matters associated with social care as well as other families who are experiencing child in need processes and child protection processes as well.
Sorry, Victoria,
yeah.
Robin's raised her hand again.
Yes, Robin.
Can I just say that basically the EHCP bit interested me a bit, because there's not enough people applying for EHCPs, and that's quite a worry. So I think what we should do is basically we should branch out to more people to talk to them about getting an EHCP process done.
I don't know that it's about it not happening, because certainly the local authority have seen an increase in the number of requests for education, health and care needs assessments. I need to unpick why people aren't coming to us to request support. There are significant delays within the EHCP process at the moment as well, so whether that's a factor, and I wonder whether we've certainly picked up that some of the information that's going out from the local authority is inaccurate in terms of accessing us as a service. So again, that's something that I'm picking up, but I need to unpick why there's been such a dramatic drop in the support that we're offering. And I don't know whether any of my colleagues within the service have got any thoughts on that.
All I was saying is it sounded a bit interesting, as there was quite a dramatic drop. So I was like, let's get more people talked to about EHCPs and what it's all about, so that they can get it sorted.
Yeah, and I think there probably is something around us making sure that parent carers, children and young people are aware of how we can support through that process, and how we can enable them to be part of that co-production, be part of that, ensuring that their views are part of that process, and that they're working with the local authority to make sure that EHCP is as co-produced as it possibly can be. So yeah, and maybe that's something that we need to talk about outside of this meeting, Robin, about how we can make sure that children and young people are aware of their rights around EHCP as well. So thank you.
I was just going to say also, Victoria, lots of parents are now able to access the information through the level 1 information advice service, the advice service that John and Tracy are providing. It's quite a subscriptive process, so there's lots of information that we're able to provide parents at level 1, which maybe wouldn't have come up so much as well. So parents are more able to advocate for themselves as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, thank you for that, Bex. That's a really good point. I was just saying,
Louise has her hand up as well, Victoria.
Yes, Louise?
I was just going to say, could it be a part of BCP have really been pushing the graduated response, and if that could have a knock-on effect with parents not applying yet because they're trying to go with what the schools are suggesting about the graduated response and working that way, and it could be that it's pushing that back a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, as I say, I need to unpick it a bit more really, because we know that requests for EHC needs assessments have gone up, and certainly our data around appeal. We used to see lots of refusal to assess appeals. We don't see so many of those now, but we see the refusal to issue. So I need to unpick why families aren't coming through to us, and it may be something that, again, that we could work on together to look at why, you know, if there's a reason why parents aren't accessing us for support, and if indeed it is because they're receiving really good advice at the very beginning and are able to self-advocate and go through the process themselves, then that's really, really positive. But I just need to unpick it a little bit as well, really, to understand why. I thought I'd just kind of go over the kind of the parent carer response, the kind of feedback that we've been receiving. And over the last year, we've received increased satisfaction from individuals who've used the service. So 90% of respondents felt we were very easy to get in touch with, compared with 60% in 2021. 10% of respondents had some difficulty getting in touch with SENDiass, compared with 19% in 2021. The difficult thing is, because it's anonymous feedback, it's really difficult to get back to those people to say what was the problem, where was the issue. So we do have a comments section at the end where parents can say, you know, it was because of this, but very few of them have put what the issue was. But again, that perhaps needs a bit of unpicking. 96% of respondents felt we were unbiased, neutral and fair, so up from 83% in 2021. So part of the Ofsted inspection picked up that some parents had fed back concerns around our impartiality, and the fact that we are funded through the local authority, and therefore how can we be arm's length if we're funded. And I know that PCT have done some kind of myth busting for us, and certainly Beth recently put out something on our behalf around SENDiass as well, which is really helpful in terms of kind of explaining what it means to be arm's length from the local authority, and indeed NHS Dorset. 97% of respondents were satisfied or very satisfied with our involvement, and 100% of respondents felt back that the information we provided was very helpful or helpful, compared with 75% in 2021. 93% of respondents felt that SENDiass involvement had made a positive difference to their child or young person, 69% the previous year, and 100% fed back that it benefited as a result of the service, and 96% felt they had a greater understanding of rights for children and young people. 89% felt more confident, and 86% felt happy or less worried about the future. And no respondent scored the service they'd received lower than 3, neither good nor bad. So I think in terms of the challenges that there have been over the last few years, satisfaction has gone up, and people are feeling satisfied or very satisfied with the support that we're able to offer. Just in terms of, not that I want to kind of focus on the negative areas really, but the fact is we've had a significant increase in inquiries. The increased need for complex and enduring information and advice, 51% up in terms of hours. Officers carrying caseloads between 50 and 65 of complex and enduring support needs. Referrals for allocation average around 9 a week currently, and because support is needed over a longer period of time and an more intensive level, the number of support or intervention that are closing is not matching those that are coming in terms of new requests. It's of concern to me that we're still reliant on grant funding and fixed term contracts to maintain and build our capacity, and capacity is stretched. We are very stretched in terms of what we're offering. We still sorry,
Victoria, sorry to interrupt. We're not seeing, you've not moved the page on, so we're not
I thought
seeing.
it stopped sharing, sorry.
Well, I
I
don't know about anybody else.
I mean, I'm just going over what the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities that I've kind of identified as part of doing the annual report. So I was just kind of sharing those kind of headlines, if that's okay with everybody.
That's fine. I didn't know if we were if this was moving on and we were seeing what you were saying.
No, sorry. I mean, I can share it if people would like that. That's fine. Let me share it and then you can see it. Gives you something to look at, doesn't it? Rather than let's stop sharing and try again. Where is it?
While we're on pause, just to let you know, Vanessa has joined the chat as well.
Oh, hi Vanessa, thank you for joining us.
Hi everyone, sorry for the delay. I'm quadruple booked today.
Thank you for coming. So opportunities wise, we're still using current grant reserves to extend fixed term contracts. What I need to be doing is building a business case to commit those funds ongoing, because of the deficit within the local authority. Despite those grants being ring fenced, they're being scrutinised currently. So we need to really look at that to make sure that that grant funding remains within SENDiass and doesn't get absorbed elsewhere. Obviously, as a statutory service, there is a duty on the local authority and the Integrated Care Board, NHS Dorset, to ensure SENDiass has the necessary stability and capacity to continue to meet local need and the national minimum standards as set out by the Department for Education and Department of Health. It's positive as a statutory service we can maintain recruitment subject to the new procedures, and the consultation on the Send Green paper and letter from Kit Malthouse to the Select Committee highlights strengthening SENDiass through greater clarity on our role. We do have some underspend in our current core budget due to myself reducing some hours. So I'm working with the accountant at the moment to look at how we can take that forward, really, in light of current financial situation and the demands within the local authority as well. So as I said, threats, current financial position and head of finance scrutinising our ring-fenced grant reserves with a plan to remove if they're not committed. Our ongoing reliance on dwindling reserves to maintain capacity where there is clear need to build permanent capacity stability for the future. The ongoing significant year-on-year increase in demand, which I've already mentioned, and looking at ensuring that we retain some of the internal KPIs we have. We're at risk of losing some fixed term if we do lose those reserves, and I'm committed to ensuring that doesn't happen. As I said, ensuring that we have a case going forward to make sure that happens, and overall there's a risk that the local authority will be unable to continue delivering an effective service and will be non-compliant with the Children and Families Act 2014 if we indeed don't either maintain the capacity we've got or build capacity going forward. As I said, to reassure everyone, I'm working with our accountant to look at how we will be able to do that, but it is of concern going forward. Okay. I stop sharing. Okay. Any questions on that? Sorry to end on a bit of doom and gloom, but I think we need to recognise the situation that everybody's in, actually. But what is important for me is to maintain what we've got, and build on what we've got, because we clearly are meeting need locally, and we need to make sure that we continue to do so. Okay, if nobody has any questions or thoughts, then we'll move on to Lex and her report for around parent champions, which is incredibly positive.
You're on mute, Lex.
Thank you, Victoria. I'm not being rude, keep turning my camera off. I'm out on the Purbeck and my internet this morning is not wanting to play ball very much. So if I have to turn my camera off again, it's because my signal's becoming really weak. Where do I start? I just feel incredibly lucky that I came on board 16 months ago to deliver on a project of parent champions for SEND across BCP. My whole time and existence in this role has just been amazing, and the volunteers that have expressed an interest and come forward and also delivered on the role has blown me away. They are completely committed, incredibly professional, and just so willing to take on new ideas, and also I hope that they feel really that they have an investment in the project. It's organically growing, and it's able to do so because Victoria's been an amazing manager and allowed me to do all the things that I would want to do, and the volunteers have come on board with it, as I say, really willingly. So currently we have a network of parent champions. We have 10 active champions in schools, and we have just had another 5 start our 5th phase of an induction programme. So by January, we have the potential to have 15 volunteers out there across BCP, supporting other families, parent carers with their fears, worries, concerns around anything to do with additional needs. For those of you who aren't aware of the project, volunteers come on board and commit with 3 hours a month of their time. They deliver a 2-hour session within a school setting where other parent carers can book on and come and talk in a confidential, safe listening space about the things that worry them, that may keep them awake at night, or where they feel they're just not being listened to outside of that room. So we've had to work really transparently with schools, because schools are quite often the front door for where families come in and want to get that support. Schools have encouragingly been again willing to run with the project and trust in us, and trust what, you know, we're not coming in to stir up a whirlwind within their school setting. We're there to work collaboratively with them, and I think the schools that have us on board would say that is definitely happening. In just this academic term, I've just had a quick look at the figures this morning. We've already supported 24 families since September. We've had a parent run a coffee morning informal coffee morning within a school setting where they had 15 parents attend to kind of check out actually what is this parent champion, sort of take some of that scariness away about what they might be facing at an appointment. And we've also had a parent champion attend really successfully a secondary open evening, which the school very kindly kind of put them within the SEND team part of the open evening, and the parent champion was run off their feet. She had a queue of parents wanting to know, you know, what were they going to expect from the school. Were they welcoming? Were they happy that their child was getting the right support? So it's evolving. It's a really exciting phase to be in. I would be really sad if this was coming to an end and the work that was out there was going to have to cease. So anywhere where you can promote the project, please do. Always happy to answer any questions about how schools get set up. We put out an impact report at the end of September. It went out to every single school. I'm not going to lie, I was hoping to get a bit of a flurry of inquiries from schools out there, but the interest has been low, which is of a great surprise. We've got 14 schools on board. We've got 2 in talks who are wanting to get the project. We work across primary and secondary. I'm doing an audit at the moment across schools' websites to kind of really support them in actually how they can promote the project a little bit better. Some schools do it really well. You know, some schools within 2 clicks you can be at the information for your parent champion, and some it takes a lot more clicks, and some it's just not on there at all. So I'm going to hopefully be working with schools about how we can make that a little bit more kind of prominent on their websites. I know some send out in newsletters, and I'm trying to get to grips with whether things are going out on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, because I know schools use a wealth of social media now to kind of get messages across. We're looking at accreditations for our parent champions now, so we're looking at really kind of firming up what they do and how they deliver. So again, I've got interest from a lot of the volunteers who want to take that on board. And we started network meetings in the last 6 months as part of our support to the parent champions. And at network meetings we'll have guest speakers. So this year we've had Kooth.com, which for those of you who don't know is an amazing online digital emotional health resource for young people. And we've had an educational psychologist come and talk about the graduated response. We've had Dr. Rachel Molesley come from Bournemouth University and talk about actually what it was like for her growing up as a girl with autism and getting a very late diagnosis, and some of the work that she's doing now. And I know kind of some of the spin-offs from the parent champions. We've got one parent champion who is also a governor at a school, who's now linked up with Dr. Molesley to go and do a session at a governor's conference to kind of really highlight you know, the need for early detection of additional needs. And we've also had one of our other parent champions who we worked with on setting up the sensory room at Kings Park for COVID vaccinations, and we worked together on putting everything in that would make it I'm not going to say a more pleasant experience, but a more manageable experience for young people to have their COVID injections. And she's actually been awarded or put forward for an award for the Nursing Times. So she's going to be up in London very soon to see if she's won that award. So lots going on. We've got lots of things that we're sort of talking about in the pipeline, and yeah, so in our first 16 months, you know, we've supported over 70 families. I just think, you know, what our volunteers have achieved is amazing. So I know I'm a bit of a whirlwind talker. I didn't have a presentation for you today because I just passionately talk about what we do. So if you've got any questions, then yeah, please ask away.
Got a hand up.
Yeah, basically I agree with having the sensory room at Kings Park, because obviously loads of kids with autism really love sensory toys and stuff like that. So I agree, it's definitely a really good idea, and I think that should go ahead.
It has gone ahead. Yeah, it's there. It's out there and working, and it's got lighting and music and bean bags and it's been painted, and this is
what we need in Poole as well, because obviously there's loads of trouble going on in and around the area at the minute. So we need more sensory and more like calmness. I don't know how you say it, but like a sensory or safe area for people with special needs, especially when they're out and about in Poole. So I don't know if that would be an idea for parent carer champions to come forward to look at.
I will definitely give that some airtime, Robin. I think that's a great idea. Maybe we could work with the Dolphin Centre on having a space where young people can go when they're feeling a little bit overwhelmed. I think that's a brilliant idea.
Louise?
Not a question, just an observation that I've met several of the parent champions now in various settings. In fact, I put one of them on the spot because she came along to a coffee morning we ran, and I sort of asked her if she could do a 5-minute quick, you know, what is a parent champion? She was absolutely brilliant, and the feedback that we've had from parents about when they know that these champions are in their schools has been phenomenal, just the passion and the commitment from them. So well done.
Louise, that's brilliant feedback. Thank you for that.
Alex has a hand up.
Hi, I was just going to, I was busy writing notes while you were talking actually, but I was just going to say that the 6 primary schools in AAT, part of their vision and part of their response to the ever-growing needs, particularly in ASC and sensory needs, is that we are looking to ensure that we have a sensory space, a sensory room in each of our primary schools. So this could be a way to develop both that vision and that need for the sensory, but at the same time involving a parent champion. So that could be something that we could work on. And I've just sent a message to the principals in the sector, just checking to see if anybody has already got a parent champion working with them. And I can see Sarah Simmons, Lexi, has been in touch trying to organise something
Sarah,
for QPA.
Yeah, Queen's Park is one of the ones I'm working with. Yeah.
Yep, I'll let her know, because she's just saying she was trying to organise it, but just hasn't quite caught up. You haven't quite got together yet.
So yeah, there's been communication and literature
Brilliant.
going through. So I'm just waiting for them to kind of say they're ready for a volunteer, really. We will have one for them ready for them, waiting to go in January.
Brilliant, that's excellent news, and I'll expect the other 5 to follow suit. So I'll make sure they're all in touch with you, either via me or separately.
Oh, that would be amazing, Alex. Thank you so much.
Jill wants to hand up.
Thanks. Yeah, just briefly, when you're talking about the sensory space and the Dolphin Centre, I know it's not the main thing, but our students are needing to take their GCSEs in the Dolphin Centre now, because that's potentially where the skills and learning is going to hold them. So again, if that idea takes off, or if there's anything we can do from AIM community to be part of building that or advocating for that, I'd really love to, because it's a bit of a worry as the, learning specialist, to take our students to that environment. It's such a barrier before they've even got into the GCSE room. So that would be incredible. And if there's anything we can do, please let me know.
Thanks, Jo. That's really great. Thank you.
Robin.
From your advice there, Jo, about the students wanting the sensory space, at the minute, what I was saying, because of the antisocial behaviour that's going on in Poole Bus Station, a lot of people with special needs have refused to go there at the minute because there's too much of it going on, and I feel it's time Poole needs to change its ways. So I'm thinking a sensory or a safe haven for people with special needs like myself, that would be a really good idea. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you.
Sorry.
And I'm off mute. I was just going to say as well that, picking up on Robin's point earlier about engaging with local businesses and things like that, that might be an opportunity to kind of get out there and talk to local businesses around, a plan that you might come up with around developing that calm space, that calm area, to look at whether they might be willing to be involved in it as well. So yeah, that was the point I was going to make.
Jill also has a hand up.
And I was just going to say, really, maybe that's something that we could do collaboratively, with the young people, and working like with yourself, Jo, and with the parents as well, parent champions. Maybe it's something that we could do as a collaborative as well, perhaps, just to stretch the load and obviously make sure that we get the right thing, hopefully.
Just to say that the whole thing about safe spaces, especially around about the bus station in Poole, that's been taken up by the Learning Disability Partnership Board. And although they're older people, but they've been self-advocating for a safe space. I think currently it's a bench, down by the bus, the offices there, and they've been saying for a long time that it's not suitable. I know that they did have a meeting, I think, with the guy that runs the Dolphin Centre, that oversees it, and he was sort of thinking about things like having people within the Dolphin Centre with that here to help sort of badge type thing, and maybe they could build it that way, but that might be a way of building it up as well.
Okay, well, there's an action to take forward, a kind of collaborative approach to trying to get this off the ground. And I think, Robin, it's a really valid point and a really good opportunity to start those discussions and try and get something off the ground. So yeah, brilliant. Okay. In terms of where we're at, we're a little ahead of schedule, which is good. And it's time to hand over to John and Sally, if they're happy to, just to give a bit of an update on where we're at with the website development. Is that okay?
Sure, no problem.
Thank you.
So I volunteered, Jonathan, thank you.
I could feel that on the way. Okay, so just a brief chat then about the website. So we've had the SENDiass4BCP website up and running for a bit more than a year now, I think, maybe a year and a half, and it's okay, is what I would say. There's definitely no glowing reports for it. It does the job. There's information on there, there's resources on there, and people can access it. But it's not lovely to look at, and there could be more resources on it. There's definitely more information and more space that should be on there for children and young people directly, and so that's something that we're in the process of working on at the moment. I say we, it's mostly Sally. Sally is a wonderful web person who has created a new website for us. It's not publicly accessible as yet. There's still more work to be done on it, and we're still looking with Jill and participation group to get more information and more feedback on what children and young people actually want to see on that website and how they feel it would be from a point of view of accessibility and so on. So that's an ongoing project that, you know, obviously if anybody has any suggestions or pointers that they would like to provide, we would be certainly eager to listen to, and I'd be eager to pass it on to Sally to implement. If Sally's got anything else you want to add as well,
no, I think it goes with what Victoria was saying earlier with the branding and making everything standardised as well. So it'll help towards that. But I believe Jill has some. I think you were talking earlier about the communication that you have with the groups that you've been working with, and I think they're planning to give feedback towards the end of the month. But if anyone else would can provide us with any feedback that might help, then we'd certainly welcome it.
And in terms of, so that there's a requirement for us to have a standalone website, as John said. The one that we currently have does a job, and that's it. So, and what we wanted to make sure was that the new one was very much co-produced, and that parent carers, children and young people had some input into what it looks like and the accessibility of it, but also the resources that are contained within it as well. I'm actually going to, I've got a meeting coming up with Devon IAS, because they have developed theirs with the support of one of their officers who is actually an information specialist and has done work with the NHS and developed resources and websites with other organisations. So what I'm hoping to do as part of the work that we're doing is commission some hours from that person to support John and Sally in terms of what we're doing locally, because there's been some changes to our intervention levels which I haven't yet shared with the team, so I won't go into it in too much detail. But what we need to be ensuring is that opportunity for self-serve and self-serving in terms of information that parent carers, children, young people might want is enabled, and certainly having a really accessible web platform would enable some of that to happen as well, and hopefully the majority of that to happen as well. So that's kind of the driver for changing the website and ensuring that it is as accessible as possible. And as Sally said, Jill's been doing some work not only with Robin and her peers in terms of the participation group, but other young people's groups across BCP in getting their feedback on both the current and now the developing new website as well. So some really positive work going on there as well.
Can I just say, I don't know if Louise has seen in the chat, but Joe was asking whether you had any contact details for the Dolphin.
I can't remember the guy's name from the Dolphin, but from Learning Disabilities Partnership Board, Amanda Parsons is, can't remember her title, but she's an officer. She's a support worker for the People First Forum. And Amanda Foster is the Self Advocate. I'm just trying to remember their email address, and I can't quite remember it offhand.
Perhaps if you could send it on to me, Louise, and then I'll forward it on to Jo. Is that okay?
Yeah, will do. Will do.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think if we move on to kind of updates from partners, I know that we're kind of vastly populated by SENDiass today, but if partners wish to give an update from their perspective, any developments that are going on in their area, then that would be welcomed at this point, please.
There aren't many partners here, so I feel like I should say something.
Oh, thanks, Vanessa.
I suppose the thing that people probably want to know most about is the EPS capacity and recruitment elements, because that's what's affecting and impacting on one of the things, should I say, is that impacts on timeliness. We are still continuing to try to recruit. Unfortunately, this is now the third time we've been out with recruitment last month and haven't had any interest. We are looking at other approaches. There is an action plan around capacity and timeliness. One of the actions that we're looking at doing is increasing the number of assistant EPs in the absence of being able to recruit EPs to help work with the EPs to produce the plans and to do that assessment work. So yesterday we did manage to recruit one assistant. And once we start working in that way, we'll start to increase that number as well. We do use a number of locums, so we onboard locums periodically. I think we currently have 12 that we're working with, not 12 FTE, 12 locums working at different amounts of time, and they work with the senior EPs in terms of getting those plans finalised and agreed and quality assured. What else can I say about that? As I said, there is an action plan that sort of centres around what else can we do and what else can we address. One of the things I think we need to work on is our web presence, as you just discussed. So what it looks like when you say, oh, do I want to work for that particular EPS? Unlike yourselves, unfortunately, we're not able to separate ourselves from the mainframe. And that, I think, has presented us with limited options in that respect. But we are going to explore and escalate that, I think, in order to attract people when they say, yes, do I want to move from place A to place B? Because it's a beautiful place to live. And I love the way that you've got that demonstrated on the front of yours, because it really does show that. So yeah, we are continuing to try to work on that, and any ideas you have or any feedback you've had, I'm more than happy to have a look at that and think about what comes forward. Robin has a hand up. Oh, I think you're on mute, Robin.
In Poole, there's not a lot of opportunities for people with special needs like myself. I'm thinking like day opportunities, like obviously we know that we do the Sense days up in the project centre.
Yes.
There's not enough day opportunities that are going on in and around Poole for people with learning disabilities. So I'd like to see a lot more like SEND local offer days in Poole.
Yeah, that's something I could definitely put to our head of SEND for some further opportunities there and see what we can consider. I think we've always sort of picked up on the fact that we probably need to use voluntary sector a little bit more as well, to reach in and fill some of the gaps that we don't easily can't easily pick up. But yeah, absolutely, we'll explore that.
Got a question in the chat for you, Vanessa, from Joe, asking what your role is.
What my role is? Oh, sorry. Yes, I just assumed everybody. I'm the principal educational psychologist for BCP. Sorry, I kind of assumed everybody knew that. I don't know why. Yeah, so I actually also manage children's occupational therapy team and Portage. So I manage those managers as well as the EPS. Do I take questions, Louise?
Sorry, it was just, I was frantically trying to read notes from a meeting yesterday, but the Preparing for Adulthood group met, and there's a new person in post, and I cannot find his name, but he's looking at day opportunities. So if you get in touch with Lindsay Sloan, she might remember who it is.
Yeah, I'll have a, I'll feedback actually, because
Yeah.
one of the things I'm going to be doing from this meeting, because I'm the only person obviously attending. So the EPS, as well as the other services I've managed, do fall under the umbrella of SEND. Obviously, we're not SEND officers, but we are managed by the same head of service. So I'll feed that back to Helen and Lindsay. And what was his name? Did you say you didn't know his name, or?
Might be Keith Gillings.
Keith Gillings.
Yeah.
Day opportunities. Okay, thanks. Rebecca, I'm assuming these questions are, the hands are for me, so I'm just going to.
Thank you, Vanessa. I was just going to say we had had a few parents who have said how they've appreciated the call-in line. I just wondered, it's not something that I've seen advertised lately on the BCP website. So can I just double check it's still going?
It is still going. It's been
Fabulous.
going for many, many years.
Yes.
And
yes.
we initially did set it up for schools, Senkos, etc., and class teachers and so on. But when the pandemic came, we had a separate line which was purely for parents. And then from that point, we opened up the line. This, brought the lines together, so we have one line now for anyone who wants to call in and has a question.
So thank you. So as feedback from that, we've had lots of families that have said that they've been able to access it and have got information that they've needed or support that they've wanted to, or questions answered that they've wanted to. So it sounds very positive from them too.
Yes, I think we do try to gather some feedback data from that, but it's a funny one to gather data from in the moment, isn't it?
Thank you.
Thank you. I think, Robin, I'm assuming your hand is a legacy hand, as they call it these days. Okay, thank you. So I will I'll send on the flyer for the telephone consultation line as well for your service.
Thank you, Vanessa. Alex or Joe, update from yourselves, or indeed, disappeared.
This is my first time here, so I have nothing to add at this point yet.
Thank you. Thanks, Alex.
I'm listening with constant note taking at the moment.
And Joe, anything from yourself?
Well, I'm in the same position as Alex, really. So I don't know what you'd want to know, and I'm just busy trying to take in all the information and go, well, what's that, and where do I find that information, and what's that acronym that you're using? So yeah, I don't know what you want to know. Happy to share about what we're doing, but there's perhaps another time for that once we know what's going on more, and how we can support you.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Robin.
Basically, what I was going to say to Vanessa as well is Send Local Offer have only been reaching out to those younger ranges, like 0 to like 3. It'd be nice to have like opportunities for those 16 plus, because there's not many out there at the minute, because obviously they're reaching out to the younger groups because of half term coming up for Christmas. So it'd be nice to have more like adulthood and like 16 plus opportunities.
Yeah, okay. And we've also got, I think, a new person's come on board who's looking at the local offer as well. So that should present some opportunities.
And she actually, because we've moved where the line management for SENDiass4BCP, we now sit within Amanda's service. Family Information Service and Local Office sits within the same group as us, so I can try and link you in. Robin, it's Rochelle, isn't it, who's leading on the local office, so I can try and link you in with Rochelle if that's helpful. Okay.
Victoria, are you managed by Amanda now?
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. I was going to ask Louise, but I think she's disappeared. Are you there still, Louise? She did have to go, didn't she, at 11:30, I think. So,
Yes, she
okay.
did, yeah.
Okay, so that brings our meeting to an end. If there's any other business from anybody, any other comments that people would like to make, now's your opportunity. Employ the 3-second rule. Okay, so thank you so much for coming, those partners who've come along today. It's been really lovely to see you, and I hope you've had a kind of rounded update of where SENDiass is at and the various projects that we've got going on. Thank you to you, Robin, for giving up your time again today to join us. We really, really appreciate it, and it's really positive to have young people providing their voice to what we're doing within SENDiass. So thank you, and you've made some really good points that can be taken forward as actions from this meeting. So thank you. So as I say, the annual report and various appendices will be circulated after the meeting, and any actions will be taken forward, as well as those that weren't taken forward from the steering group last time. Jo.
Sorry, I just feel I could just ask this question, but I'm sorry. Right,
that's right.
Before, I know everyone's working so hard in all their different areas. Just from our point of view, we're waiting for some students to start their education with us, and because they're waiting on this EHCP process. I totally understand how difficult it is, but is there anything as a SENCO type that I can be doing in that process to like support the parents or to support that coming through, or is it just that matter of being patient and waiting? What is there anything I can be doing?
I think from SENDiass perspective, making sure that the family and the young people are aware of us and how we can support and how we can walk alongside them during that kind of delay or during the process, and that we can offer information and advice and support. So making sure that they're aware and how they can contact us, and if they have difficulties contacting us, because for some families there are barriers, and whilst we are a parent-led, children and young person-led service and don't accept referrals from professionals, brokering that if you can. So if there are some barriers, getting alongside the family, young child or young person, and enabling them to make contact with us if that's what they'd like to do. I don't know from your perspective, Vanessa, whether there's any other advice you could offer.
I'm just thinking around the work we're doing for graduated response. So we've, as I don't know if you participated in that, Joe and Alex, in relation to the audit that was carried out. So we did a graduation response audit, and from that we're looking at formulating an action plan where we can look at what support, where the gaps are, and what support people, well, where that might come from, and indeed in some cases it might come from the schools themselves, who have expressed some strength in certain areas. So once we've got that, and we're actually currently meeting over the next few weeks to formulate that action plan, and from that we'll be able to say what additional support or where that will come from moving forward.
Will that be published online, will it? I'm assuming the audit's closed now, but
it may well be that at the next SEND forum there'll be some definite feedback on that, but whether or not we'll get to the point as now this is what we're going to do conclusively, that we might not quite be there for that, but that might be worth attending just to get some information from Joe. Joe Bishop will be chairing that.
Thank you.
I don't know if that answers your question fully.
I don't know what the SEND forum is, I'm afraid. I'm a bit new into it, but
okay.
yeah, but
so
that's fine.
SEND forum is a network, if you like, where SENCO, or those people who are practicing, who have professional practice around children who have special educational needs and disabilities, usually SENCOs, but it could be teachers, it could also be other professionals within the local authority or parent carers, come along, and there's updates given around what's happening in the local authority, a bit of training sometimes on there, and elements that we work together with US SENCOs or head teachers in relation to the area, the SEND area. So it's definitely worth coming along to. There's one every term for that's run by the local authority, and there's one a term run by Linwood, which is called the SEND Network. They do similar things.
And so obviously I'm aware of the graduated response, but how do I find out when that send form is then? Is there a website for that? Is it through BCP website?
Joe Bishop, I think, sent out the notification via emails to head teachers and SENCos, but if you're new, you may not have received that. So
well, it's probably because we're a kind of alternative provision, so we're perhaps not in the same loop. But
okay, sorry, Joe, what provision are you from?
We're AIM Arts Academy, so it's post 16 provision, a charity essentially, but we're doing kind of GCSEs level 2, level 3. So
if you put your email address, if it's not already there, in the chat, I'll see if I can send that on to you.
Thank you. Thanks.
And I'll also send on the graduated response toolkit if that's not something you're familiar with.
I have, yeah, I've got the graduated response toolkit. Thank you, but just not any of the links of the people.
Right. Okay.
Thank you very much. I'll just check my address and put it in.
Thank you, Jo. Thanks, Vanessa. Alex.
I was just going to ask about using your email addresses and your website details. Previously, when I was working with Kirsty, what we did at the AAT is put the contact details of the website and email addresses for SENDiass on the pupil passports, which are like the IEPs that we use. And then Kirsty said that if I was actually specifically signposting your service to a parent to perhaps give her the heads up, just to make sure that she's not sort of inundated, are you still happy for me to work in that way? Because there are a few parents who are doing a request themselves with the support of the school, and they would really benefit from some support from SENDiass. So I think I love the way you said it, something like walking alongside them in the process, or I think that's a lovely, almost like your strap line, isn't it, really, is that they would really appreciate that support. And I know professionals can't refer in, but is it something that I can just do myself and say to the parents, you know, get in touch with this service, and then do you still want that heads up, or are you happy for me to just?
From my perspective, I'm happy for you to signpost the parents into us, and you know, I don't think we necessarily need that kind of heads up that this parent might get in touch with us. I think, you know, you know, in terms of access, then that parent, but I think the point I was making, if you know there are parents where it's about, they would find it very difficult to either pick up the phone or send an email, that with their consent, and by you getting alongside them, or your SENCos in the school, whoever they've got a relationship with, really, and brokering that contact with us, then we're quite happy for that to happen. That's absolutely fine.
Which is the best way? Is it via email? is it going onto the website and pushing a link, or is it which is the best?
We've got the phone, we've got the advice line, so we've got the phone, which is from 9:30, correct me if I'm wrong, Jonathan and Tracy, 9:30 till 12:30? 12:30. See, I was right. Monday to Thursday. So you've got the advice line, and then email is the new email address, which is help@sendiass.org.
SENDiass4BCP.
For bcp.org, there we go. And
I haven't updated that, so I need to change that.
And there is there's a contact form on the website as well. So there's those three means. All right, thank you. Okay, so I think, as I was saying, thank you for attending, everybody. It's lovely to see everyone here, and we'll get the documentation out after the meeting, and the actions that are being taken forward, of which there are a few, I think. So thank you, everybody, and the next meeting will take place in March, April time 2023.
Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.